Okay, pro tricks on drywall. Working on a drywall project here where we have added insulation to this house, had to pull the inside walls out, put insulation in, put new walls up, and it's just after back and forth on several different ways of getting that accomplished, this is what was going to go with. We did try the injectable foam, and that didn't work out. I'm going to discuss that in another video. The sanding on all of this, the trick was, how can we get this done efficiently and cleanly? And that was one of the original reasons that all the votes were in favor of the injectable foam, is you're not going to have drywall dust all over the place. So that became a major concern. When I sand with an 80 grit sandpaper on this oscillating sander with a discharge port hooked up to the vacuum cleaner, this is 2 days worth of leftover stuff. This has not been swept for 2 days. Sanding in between, putting new mud up, flattening it out more. Rather than use disposable booties, I just work in my sock. Okay, so you see I've been walking around in this stuff, not even much is on my feet. So having a vacuum hooked up to this, major bonus. And it's also very fast. A lot better than hand rubbing this. The other thing I found to get the sandpaper to last much longer and to have more efficient vacuuming is you have to rotate and play with this sandpaper to get all your discharge holes to line up better on the machine. So as you're setting it on, you got to be really careful, rotate it, get as many holes to line up as possible. Your sandpaper is going to last a lot longer, and you get more efficient vacuuming out of that. On the machine, you are going to go through filters, and you either stop work, clean out the filter, that sort of thing, and replace the filter from time to time. You are going to go through filters. The other thing I noticed is that in order to sand on this stuff, where maybe it was laid on a little thicker in between these layers, it's really got to be really dry before you do that. If you use the old style cheese grater hand sanders on this type of stuff, you don't necessarily have to wait for everything to be super dry. You can kind of do it when it's a little dampish, but not totally dampish. With this thing, you got to wait till it's really dry, and that's where on drywall, mud, and tape jobs, they take a certain number of days, no matter what. Even if it's not very many hours in any day, you've just got to let it dry in between layers. Another little trick is when you empty out a bucket of the stuff, use it as a stand for the next bucket, so you're not having to bend over all the way to get at it. But 3 buckets tall is pushing it. There are people that want to go 3 buckets tall, and one of the ways you can accomplish that is the bottom buckets with water in them. It's heavy, but it's stable. If the 2 bottom buckets are empty and the top bucket is full, it's not stable. You bump it, it goes over. If they've got water in them, it's stable, and then it's easier to clean those buckets out later, use them for other purposes. On the drywall knives or trowels or whatever you want to call these things, if you clean them after use, they end up like this. This is after being used. This stuff is of such low value that when you clean it, you really don't want to put it back in a bucket. It's got to go away somewhere. And the way you would clean this is with water or a towel or something like this, and then it's going to rust right away because it's carbon steel, and all that stuff gives you imperfections in your finish. So if you're going for a super smooth finish, which is not going to get texture, you need that to be smoother. The only way I'm able to accomplish this, go ahead and let that shit dry on there, and what will happen is I go and I get this and I clean it off with that after it's dried. And using the spinning wire brush, you can actually put a newer, better finish on that drywall knife. It really doesn't matter if this shit's back here. What matters is that the whole surface of this gets really clean and smooth, because no matter how much you try to clean something like this with a wet towel or a rag or something, at the end of the day, you're not getting all that stuff off of there, and then you're going to have the rust bubbles, and it's never going to give you a smooth finish again. If you just let it dry out and then come back and hit it with a wire brush, it's a couple of minutes to clean it. It's less time to clean that off with a wire brush on a machine than it is to sit there and try to rub and sponge that and clean it with a towel. Just have multiples. This is a $6 tool, okay? You don't want to be penny wise and pound foolish on that. Let them dry out and then clean them with a powered wire brush, and you're ready to go another day on that.